Welcome to Family History Mysteries, a podcast that tells the stories uncovered through family history research, the unexpected stories of everyday people. I am an avid family historian who has been compiling my family tree for over 15 years, with nearly 20,000 people recorded in my trees. And please put a review on my podcast. That will certainly help in getting the word out there and creating more listenership. Episode 236. The Countess of Belmore. Gloria Anthea Harker was born on the 4th of October 1915 in Perth, Western Australia. She was the daughter of Herbert Bryant Harker, a merchant clerk who was born in England, and Lillian Morris. Her parents were married on the 8th of October 1902 at St Mary's in Perth when he was 33 and Lillian 24. In the Perth West Australian, the marriage was announced. Harker-Morris. In West Perth, Herbert Bryant, second son of William George Harker, Esquire of London, to Lillian, eldest daughter of John P. Morris, Esquire of Sydney. Lillian's father, John, was an engineer and he was based in Perth, Western Australia as well. They'd emigrated to Australia not long after Lillian's birth. On the 27th of August 1900 in the Perth West Australian, Herbert Bryant Harker of Perth in the colony of Western Australia, being the honorary secretary of the Perth Flying Squadron Club. And in the 17th of February 1904 in the Kalgoorlie Miner, Alice Chalmers Company, Chicago, manufacturers of gates, rock breakers and all classes of mining machinery. A direct representative branch of the above company has been opened at the Mercantile Chambers opposite the Kalgoorlie Club under the management of Mr. Herbert B. Harker, late of the Perth office, from whom all quotations and particulars may be obtained. In the Kalgoorlie Miner on the 18th of April 1910, it announced that Mr. H.B. Harker is retiring from the firm Harker & Gray to become manager of Fraser & Chalmers Limited in Western Australia. In the Melbourne Weekly Times on the 27th of April 1918, it mentioned that Mr. and Mrs. H.B. Harker and family of Iverleith in Ackland Street, St Kilda, left last week on the way to Japan. On the 10th of July 1923 in the Perth Daily News, Mr. Herbert B. Harker, Eastern representative of the Broken Hill Associated Smelters Proprietary Limited of Kobe, Japan, is at the Esplanade Hotel for a few days. Mr. Harker is much interested in aviation and in addition is an enthusiastic Freemason. In the Sydney Morning Herald on the 20th of December 1929, it stated that Mr. and Mrs. H.B. Harker and their daughter are returning to Australia by the Tanda. Mr. Harker has represented Australian-led interests in Japan for the past 11 years. Gloria was the fourth of 5 children to Herbert and Lillian Harker. Gloria first features in the papers on the 8th of June 1935 in the Melbourne Herald. Miss Veronica Tremern gave an enjoyable bridge party at her home in Mandeville Crescent, Toorak this afternoon in honour of Miss Gloria Harker of Tintern Avenue, Toorak, who will leave shortly for a trip to Japan. And on the 14th of June 1935 in the Melbourne Argus. Admittedly one of the most difficult languages for a foreigner to learn, Japanese appears to hold no terrors for Miss Gloria Harker, who is polishing up on her Japanese before going back to Japan to visit her brother, who's stationed at Kobe on the staff of the Imperial Chemicals Limited. Miss Harker is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. H.B. Harker of Tintern Avenue, Toorak. She was taken as a baby to Kobe, where her parents lived for many years before coming to Australia. Visitors to the Harker home at present are apt to be a trifle startled when conversation is suddenly interspersed by a clatter of strange, high-pitched exclamations, which translated proved to be merely a calm comment on some household matter. It appears that Miss Harker left Japan when she was 12 years old to go to school in England, and although she could then speak Japanese to the manner born, she has become a little rusty in the interim. Her family, therefore, are helping her back to proficiency by incorporating Japanese into the daily routine. Miss Harker will spend a year or 2 with her brother and his wife, who is American-born, and will then join her family in England, where they will make their future home. Gloria sailed on the Tanda on the 2nd of July 1935 for Kobe. On the 6th of June 1936 in the Melbourne Argus, it announced the engagement of Gloria Anthea, second daughter of Mr. and Mrs. H.B. Harker of Tintern Avenue, Toorak, to Angus John Henry MacDonald of Vancouver, Canada. Miss Harker, who's been staying with her brother, Mr. Howard Harker, in Kobe, Japan, will spend several months with her sister and brother-in-law, Mr. Brian Mann, Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers, and Mrs. Mann in Singapore before her marriage. Well, this marriage didn't seem to eventuate, as Gloria married Major Galbraith Armour Lowry Corrie, son of Major Adrian Lowry Corrie and Geraldine Hardcup, on the 18th of February 1939 in Bangalore, Madras, India. The marriage announcement was in the Melbourne Argus on the 18th of March 1939. On the 18th of February at St George's Church in Wellington, Madras, India, Galbraith Lowry Corrie, the Royal Inskilling Fusiliers, to Gloria Anthony Harker, second daughter of Mrs. H.B. Harker of Melbourne. Galbraith was educated at Lancing College in Sussex and then the Royal Military College at Sandhurst in Berkshire. He fought in the Second World War and was wounded in action and later gained the rank of Major in his service of the Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers. He was serving with the Inniskillings in Malaya in 1949 when his commanding officer handed him a telegram addressed Lord Belmore. It signalled that his bachelor cousin, the 6th Earl of Belmore, had died, and that he, a great-nephew of the 4th Earl, had succeeded to the earldom and the family seat of Castle Cool. He took immediate leave and returned to Ireland. So Gloria Anthony Harker became Countess Belmore on the 2nd of March 1949. The title of Lord Belmore came about by two families in the 17th century who left Dumfries to settle in Fermanagh and Tyrone. The marriage of Galbraith Lowry to Sarah Corrie united their considerable fortunes and political clout. Their only surviving son, Armour Lowry Corrie, inherited 70,000 acres and an income of £12,000 and moved up in the heady world of Irish society and politics as Baron Belmore, with a marriage that was arranged to a beautiful young wife and heiress, the eldest daughter of the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. To celebrate the marriage, he built a great fashionable home, Castle Cool, which today is considered one of the jewels in the crown of Ireland's built heritage. However, 1 year later, his life was in despair. His marriage was over, leaving him with a baby girl and a sickly son. The expensive building Castle Cool left him with very few collateral. Bitter opposition to the union with England in 1801 resulted in their exclusion from political power for many years. His son, Somerset, the 2nd Earl, an extravagant Regency figure, furnished Castle Cool in the latest style with characteristic panache and refitted a capture American schooner and took his whole family for several years around the Mediterranean, up the Nile and into the Holy Land. They were the first noble family to reach the second cataract up the Isle and dig for antiquities in Egypt. As Governor of Jamaica, Somerset successfully faced the bigotry of settlers and the Great Slave Rebellion of 1832. He died in 1841, leaving the family facing bankruptcy, and it contributed to the 3rd Earl's early death. In spite of this threat to his family, Somerset Richard, the 4th Earl, by a combination of hard work, prudence and sales of large parts of his estates, was able to keep Castle Cool. And interestingly, Somerset Richard Lowry Corrie has a link to Australia. And there's an excerpt from the Australian Dictionary of Biography that outlines a little more on Somerset, the 4th Earl of Belmore. So Somerset was born on the 9th of April 1835 in London. He was the eldest son of Amar and Emily Louise Shepherd of Kent. He was educated at Eton and Cambridge, and he graduated with a BA and an MA. He became the 4th Earl in December 1845 and took over the estates that in 1883 were valued at £11,000 a year and consisted of nearly 14,500 acres in County Tyrone and 5,000 acres at Castle Cool. In 1857, he became a representative peer for Ireland, and he married Anne Elizabeth Honoria Gladstone on the 22nd of August 1861 in Hanover Square. She was the daughter of Captain John Neilson Gladstone, RN, and a niece of William Ewart Gladstone. He briefly represented the Treasury in the House of Lords, and on the 8th of January 1868, Belmore became Governor of New South Wales. He had a vital dual role as an imperial officer responsible to the British government and as the Queen's representative heading the colonial government. Britain had obligations for colonial defence and Pacific trade, while New South Wales, with a population of 450,000, was steadily adopting democratic policies as the traditional leadership by its government developed. The colony's major problems were law reform, land, education, transport and communication, and it was all crystallised around revenue, which normally came from land sales leases and low tariffs.
On the 12th of March 1868, at a fete at Clontarf, Prince Alfred, the second son of Queen Victoria, who was visiting Australia, was shot in the back by an Irishman, Henry O'Farrell. Belmore was some distance away and he did not witness the drama in which he was meant to figure, for O'Farrell later claimed he had a bullet for the governor. But Belmore quickly allayed the commotion, made the prince comfortable and arranged for his prompt transfer to Sydney for treatment. Belmore's cool judgment continued in the Executive Council, where he presented the prince's plea for clemency and evidence from a jail surgeon on O'Farrell's mental state. He was later supported by the Colonial Office for advising caution in the application of the unusual powers of the Treason Felony Act, which James Martin's ministry had pushed through Parliament in one day. During his term in New South Wales, he also had to deal with several cases of kidnapping of Pacific Islanders by British subjects. In 1870, Belmore opened the first intercolonial exhibition in Prince Alfred Park. Altogether, he made 16 tours of New South Wales by steamer, buggy and on horseback, and he also visited Victoria, Tasmania and Norfolk Island. He was an active president of the Agricultural Society and presented £300 to the University of Sydney for a medal in agricultural chemistry and geology. The prize was later converted to a scholarship. In April 1871, he opened the Northern Railway at Scone, commenting ironically on the slow progress of the colony's railroad building and stressed the need for improved communications to help make federation possible. He also donated liberally to stained glass windows for the Muswellbrook Anglican Church. Belmore was a handsome man of 6 foot, and his wife was tall and dark, and they made an impressive vice-regal pair. Lady Belmore found the summers in Sydney oppressive, so he rented Throsby Park near Mossvale as a country house and gave the region its fashionable tone. Their first child was stillborn, but at the Government House on the 5th of May 1870, Lady Belmore had a son, Armagh Viscount Corrie, who later became the 5th Earl of Belmore. She had 2 more sons and 10 daughters. On the 26th of June 1871, Belmore submitted his resignation to take place in March 1872. He was worried about his wife's health and he wanted to resume his parliamentary career and give more time to his estates. He left Sydney on the 21st of February 1872. He died on the 6th of April 1913 at Castle Cool. Parks named after him in Sydney and Goulburn testify to his popularity in New South Wales. Now getting back to the 6th Earl of Belmore, this was announced in the Adelaide News. In Melbourne, a Melbourne woman now in Singapore becomes a Countess as the result of the death of the Earl of Belmore, who collapsed at the Belfast railway station on Wednesday. She is Mrs. Galbraith Armour Lowry Corrie, a daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Herbert Bride Harker of Toorak. Her husband, Major Lowry Corrie, now becomes the 7th Earl of Belmore with a stately home in Northern Ireland. Lord Belmore held the offices of Justice of the Peace and Deputy Lieutenant for County Fermanagh. During his time at Castle Cool, the house was modernised, with electricity being installed and parts of the house being open to the public by 1955. 70 acres of land were also transferred to the National Trust, while commercial woods were planted on the estate and a golf course was opened. Their firstborn, Lady Anthea Geraldine Lowry Corrie, was born on the 16th of February 1942. She married Patrick Matthew Desmond Ford on the 24th of April 1965 at Seaford, County Down. He was the son of Lieutenant Colonel Desmond Ford and Honorary Margaret Ward, who was the daughter of Maxwell Ward, 6th Viscount Bangor. They had 4 children. Their second born was Lady Sarah Lillian Lowry Corrie, who was born on the 31st of March 1945. She married Gary McNulty in 1979 and they had 2 daughters. Their third child, who became the 8th Earl of Belmore, was John Amar Lowry Corrie, who was born in 1951. On the 7th of September 1951 in the Melbourne Age, it announces his birth in London. The birth of a son at Belfast to the wife of the Earl of Belmore is announced today. Lady Belmore is the daughter of Mr. Herbert Bryant Harker of Melbourne. Lord Belmore, who succeeded to the title on the death of his cousin in 1949, married Lady Belmore in 1939 when he was serving in India. They have 2 daughters. John Corrie's earliest memories of Castle Cool are of the Christmas turkey belonging to the National Trust caretakers, Mr. and Mrs. Wright, which he freed from its pen in the basement. This landed him in a lot of trouble with his parents. He recalls an idyllic childhood with private lessons in the nursery in the East Wing, fishing for pike and tours of the Demesne with his fathers. During the summer holidays, he enjoyed the company of friends, including Alan, who's the present Viscount Brookborough, and Christopher Brooke from Colebrook, and Gerald Grosvenor, who's the 6th Duke of Westminster from Ely Lodge. He attended the Pretoria Preparatory School at Gloucester House, then continued his education as a boarder at Lancing College in Sussex, his father's alma mater. After 2 years at Agricultural College, he returned to Castle Cool in 1974. These were grim times in Northern Ireland. Lord Belmore made a key decision to renovate the gardener's cottage in the walled garden where he and his family now live, and their eldest son, Viscount Corrie, still uses the private rooms in Castle Cool. John married Mary Mead and they had 3 children. The heir apparent is the present holder's son, John Armour Galbraith Lowry Corrie, Viscount Corrie, born in 1985. Lord Belmore died on the 20th of July 1960, aged only 47. Gloria married for the second time to Colonel Robert James Thomas Irwin, son of Benjamin Hugh Grey Irwin, on the 20th of November 1968 at Enniskillen, Northern Ireland, when she was 53 and Robert 46. And Gloria died in 2005 at the age of 90. Gloria's siblings. Hazel Mercy Adora Harker was born on the 24th of August 1903 in Perth. She married Major Brian John Mahon, who was born in Ireland, in Kobe, Japan, on the 30th of November 1935, when she was 32 and Brian 30. She died in Gozo, Malta, on the 30th of October 1987 at the age of 84. Gloria's brother, Howard Gordon Harker, was born on the 15th of December 1904 in Perth. He married Lillis Mary Taylor on the 13th of October 1933 at the Cathedral of Holy Trinity in Shanghai, China, when he was 28 and Lillis 23. They had 2 sons. Lillis died in London in 1947. He then married Joan Lothian Wright, known as Joy, on the 30th of July 1966 at the Chelsea Old Parish Church in London, when he was 69 and Joy was 49. Howard died on the 7th of November 1995 in Chelsea, London, of pneumonia. Another brother, Robert Strawn Harker, was born on the 6th of May 1914 in Perth. He married Bettine Lorena Morris in July 1940. They had 4 children and lived in Sydney, and he died on the 29th of December 1995 in Brisbane at the age of 81. Another sister, Laurel Aileen Winifred Harker, was born on the 17th of November 1918 in Kobe, Japan. Laurel married a man named McGrath initially, and then she married Major Herbert Horatio Pinniger on the 14th of November 1951 in London. Herbert had been born in South Yarra. They had 4 children, the first being born in Hong Kong. In 1963, they owned a property called Westbury Park at Powers Creek in Victoria. And Laurel died in Melbourne on the 22nd of February 1999, aged 80. So another Australian girl who became quite notable by being the Countess of Belmore.
If you are interested in sharing your story on my podcast Family History Mysteries, please go to my Facebook page and send me a message. If you would like some assistance in filling in the gaps in your family tree to see what mysteries you solve, please get in touch. And don't forget, you can have early access to episodes by subscribing, and you'll also gain access to bonus episodes.